Okay, so if you live in the state of California, you know things are expensive, and especially with the 11% tax on top of everything that covers tax as well, things are expensive, and a lot of people find themselves in a position with the AR-15 platform of wanting to have just one lower that they can convert between pistols, rifles, pistols, all that jazz. But I don't want to rain on your parade, but a lot of people have been of the mindset that they can get an AR pistol lower, slap a rifle upper on it and a stock, call it good, stay compliant with the assault weapon ban, and then go back to an AR pistol configuration. And unfortunately, you can't actually do that legally unless you do the steps outlined at the end of this video. Today, you're actually going to learn a lot. You can see that I am sitting in a chair, and that means that we are going to be doing some computer stuff so that I can show you text, which means you're going to learn a lot. I'm going to try to be as slow as I can. After this video goes live, maybe I'll be streaming while it's uploading, who knows. But drop questions down below. We can talk about it. If I've ever had a time where there was not legal advice involved, this would be it. I want to say thank you to the supporters of this channel. Gorilla Mind, Merrick Health, Barbell Apparel, all those links down in the description. Let's get into it. If you have questions, again, drop that stuff down below. So we're going to be reading from the computer here. So we got to define a few things first before we really get into this. So pistol definitions, something to keep in mind is that if something is a pistol, it can also be an SBR per the state laws. And before I get too ahead of myself, the reason people might run into this pitfall is because federally, with the NFA, my understanding of it is that if a gun starts as a pistol, it can go to a rifle and then back to a pistol configuration, and the NFA would not be upset about that, right? In the state of California, it's a little bit different, and we'll talk about that. So pistol has a few different words of being referred to. Firearm capable of being concealed upon the person, pistol, revolver, and then also handgun are a firearm that uses a fixed projectile expelled by the force of an explosion or other combustion, and that has a barrel length of less than 16 inches in length. That's something important to remember. And then also keep in mind, as far as the state of California is concerned, you can be in trouble for pistol laws and short-barreled rifle laws. They can be both at the same time. It can be both a pistol and a short-barreled rifle, depending on how they want to charge you in the state of California. Now, the definition of a rifle is basically, again, it shoots a bullet out of a fixed projectile with a rifled bore, and it has intended to be fired from the shoulder. So it is a weapon designed or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder, and designed or redesigned or made or remade to use the energy of an explosive. Basically, it's a gun that's intended to be fired from the shoulder with a rifled bore. Pretty understandable, right? It's got a stock. You're meant to put it here. It fires it uses an explosion to fire a bullet out of a rifled bore. Pretty understandable, right? Now, in the state of California, short-barreled rifles are banned. Penal Code 16590 lists a variety of things that are generally prohibited weapons. And S is a short-barreled rifle or a short-barreled shotgun as defined by below. So generally, in the state of California, short-barreled rifles are illegal. And the state of California has a definition for that. So, and then there is a punishment. Punishment, if you get caught with an illegal state of California SBR, it is imprisonment in a county jail not exceeding 1 year. So generally, you'd probably also get some federal charges, but I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. So SBRs, they're banned. You can go to jail for up to a year. Now, what is an SBR? Relevantly here, a short-barreled rifle means any of the following. A rifle meant to be fired from the shoulder, or at one point was a rifle meant to be fired from the shoulder. A rifle with a barrel less than 16 inches in length. A rifle with an overall length of less than 26 inches. Any weapon made from a rifle, whether by alteration, modification, or otherwise, if that weapon, as modified, has an overall length of less than 26 inches and a barrel of less than 16 inches. So, whether it is configured as an SBR with a rifle stock intended to be fired from the shoulder, or whether it was made from a gun that was a rifle and now is short. Does that make sense? That's really the part that makes it so that you can't take your pistol, make it into a rifle, because at that point it's a rifle. If it is modified from a rifle configuration, it is an SBR per the state of California, which again, crime, because it's illegal to have generally, and then 1 year in prison for a thing that was at one point in its life a rifle converted into small, even if it doesn't have a stock. Just understand that. Now, there is an exemption. There's a variety of exemptions for law enforcement purposes and whatnot, or people that have the proper permits in California. But generally, you and me, normies, absolute normal people, right? I don't know. I'm not that normal. Penal Code Section 17710. The provisions listed in 16590, which says that an SBR is generally illegal, do not apply to any other weapon as defined in blah, 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 right? So it does not, the state's SBR ban does not apply to something that is in any other weapon that is properly registered with the NFA and configured as an AOW. So I'm going to say AOW or any other weapon configurably or interchangeably. So we also got to worry about the assault weapon ban, but we'll talk about that later. So we now see are out because remember, a short-barreled rifle is illegal. It's potentially, why is this not scrolling? It's potentially 1 year in jail. And it includes a firearm that was made from a rifle. Even if it started its life as a pistol, if it goes to a rifle, you cannot go back. But the thing that says it is illegal does not apply to any other weapon. Interesting, right? So how do we do that? How do we even get in the game to begin with? Now, first, you're going to need to get yourself an AR pistol. So AR pistol lower. If you haven't seen one of my many videos, I have an entire playlist talking about AR pistols, but just understand that currently there are ways through companies like 2A Zone, Manzano Munitions, Portside, Covert. I know I'm forgetting several, but those are the big players in the game. They can do single shot pistol lowers in the state of California, Kiwis and Riverbank. So it now takes us into the practical stage of how do we actually how do we do this? Like what is the route? We're seeing the light at the tunnel. We see, oh my goodness, any other weapon exemption, or you could just break the law. Just kidding. Obviously, that wasn't legal advice because I'm not a lawyer. Believe it or not, I get messages like weekly. People asking me for like legal stuff. Like, hey, today someone asked me, hey Reno, can you do a lease liability form? And if so, how much do you charge to write those up? And I had to explain to them, I'm not a lawyer. I really think people think I'm joking. I'm not a lawyer. So what's the route? You start with a single shot AR pistol. Looks a little something like that. That's silly. Just a silly Billy, right? Then you make it fixed magazine. Boom. You put a comp mag in it. There's a variety of other fixed mag stuff. I've talked about a lot of those. Go watch my videos. The Clever Co is pretty neat. So you start with a single shot pistol. You get that. It's yours. Or you maybe have other routes of doing it, but we're talking about for the normies that don't have connections, don't have hookups, aren't paying off roster prices. You get a single shot pistol. You make it fixed magazine. You do that first. Then you make it semi-automatic, but it's not an assault weapon because it is fixed magazine. We'll talk about some of those definitions later. So now you have an AR pistol with a fixed magazine that's semi-auto. Cool. If you want to add a brace, you can. You probably should. Braces are good. I mean, look how stable that platform of shooting looks. Look how good that looks. That's great. Then you get a tax stamp as in any other weapon. I have a video talking about generally the process of doing that. There's guides on how to actually fill out the forms that you should watch that are not mine, but you get a tax stamp as in any other weapon for your AR pistol. Then after the tax stamp is approved, you configure it as in any other weapon. Again, after the tax stamp is approved, you configure it as in any other weapon. Now, for the purposes of this, I'm going to very briefly just gloss over the fine minutia. You need an overall length of under 26 inches and a vertical foregrip for AR pistols with a rifle barrel to generally be in any other weapon. Now, for the feds, the overall length for the NFA is measured with the brace folded. So this picture here shows a law folding adapter. They measure it folded for the overall length, something to consider. Or removed. So if this did not have a law folder, you would just measure from the end of the buffer tubes to the end of the threads, assuming that the muzzle device is not pinned and welded, is my understanding. This stuff is changing constantly with the ATF, so when it comes to the actual measurements, do your due diligence before you start making measurements and putting stuff on. Just get a better understanding of it. Go look elsewhere. I'm not an NFA expert. So realistically, what does this mean? You're going to need a 10.5-inch barrel, or at very least under 11-inch barrel to be safe. You're going to need to put a vertical foregrip on that gun, and I recommend not using a law folder, and we'll talk about specifically why later, just very recent or very soon, not that late. So now you have a CA legal, any other weapon. It is exempt from the state SBR ban. It is not exempt from the federal NFA SBR ban. So don't go putting a stock on your AOW, because at that point it's a federally illegal SBR and a state legal SBR at the same time. And the state can also probably consider it a pistol, apparently, because that's how that works. It can be both. It's paradoxical, but it works. That's stupid. So anyways, now you can add your 16-inch barrel and a stock. It's now a rifle. And since it's fixed magazine, or if you choose to make it featureless somewhere along the process, but let's say you had it fixed magazine, you had a fixed mag AR pistol that's semi-auto, you put a longer barrel on it, then you put a stock on it, you made them together, now you have a fixed magazine rifle. Now, folding stocks are a feature, so if you were to try to do this in a featureless configuration going back and forth, well, first of all, you're swapping out a lot of parts. I wouldn't recommend that. I'd recommend, if you're going to be following the law to the best of your abilities, stick with fixed magazine, because it works for both pistols and rifles. There is no featureless pistol, unfortunately. So the overall length requirements for a semi-auto pistol, let's actually just go over here. We need to worry about the rifle part of the assault weapon ban, penal code 30515. So the way that you read this is 1, 2, 3. 3 separate things. Now, 1 starts with 3 qualifiers. Semi-auto, centerfire rifle. That does not have a fixed mag, but has any of these. So if it's semi-auto, centerfire, fixed magazine, you can have these. If it doesn't have a fixed magazine, you can't have these. Okay? So, but we went fixed mag. So we have to worry about 2. Semi-auto centerfire rifle that has a fixed magazine with the capacity to accept more than 10 rounds. Well, we're not worrying about that, because we're never putting, ever, under any circumstances, ever, in our fixed mag rifle that is semi-auto centerfire, we're never putting a normal mag in there. Do not do it. And a semi-auto centerfire rifle that has an overall length of less than 30 inches. Now, I'm not going to be pulling out the DOJ regulations to show you how that's measured. You're just going to have to trust me. 30 inches from the shortest fireable configuration. If you measure it folded, it's still a functionally whole semi-auto, meaning that you have to measure it folded. So that's why I recommended not using a folding pistol brace if you want to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So 16-inch barrel with a normal carbine buffer tube is generally going to put you at around 31 to 32 inches, depending on the length of your buffer tube or just whatever. You're going to be above that 30 inches without a muzzle device, because the muzzle device only is included if it is pinned and welded. So we don't do a folding stock. We go fixed mag. We can go to a rifle. Now we can convert back to an AR pistol configuration, but only if it is in any other weapon configuration, meaning below 26 inches, vertical foregrip, fixed magazine, no stock, it's got a brace, because that is exempt from the state SBR laws. So, If that was confusing, drop a comment down below. But basically, the process is get yourself an AR pistol, make it fixed magazine, make it legal, get an NFA AOW stamp, configure it as a little small boy after you get the NFA stamp, put a VFG on it under 26 inches. You can then make it a rifle if you wanted to. And then you can go back to the AOW configuration, not just a normal AR pistol. But what if you didn't really want to deal with all that jazz, right? Couldn't you just get your AR pistol and then, maybe make it some sort of other, not in any other weapon, just an other? Yes, sort of. But we then have to worry about some assault weapon stuff. So what I'm saying is, let's say you didn't want to do the NFA stuff. You're just not interested in jumping through that many hoops. You've already jumped through so many hoops. You're tired. You're tired of complying with these laws just for weird, vague circumstances that you could have one specific type of gun, right? I know, we all get it. So if you were to ditch the folding brace, so in any of these examples, I don't recommend using folding braces. So let's say you had a braced AR pistol that's fixed magazine. Pretty common. A lot of us have it. If you're watching this video, chances are you're interested in it. What if you just put a 16-inch barrel or 16-inch or longer barrel? Because remember earlier at the very beginning, a pistol is something that has a barrel length of less than 16 inches. Okay? So if it's over 16 inches, it's automatically no longer a pistol, right? If you got a barrel of over 16 inches, it's not a pistol. But it doesn't have a stock. It's never had a stock, and it's never gonna have a stock. So it can't be a rifle because rifles require that it should be intended to be fired from the shoulder. And it's not got a smooth bore, it's got a rifled bore, so it's not a shotgun. Well, what the hell is that thing, right? That would be an other. It's just a firearm that is not defined specifically by the penal code. So, unfortunately, the state of California banned other assault weapons that are not rifles, pistols, or shotguns. A semi-auto centerfire firearm that is not a rifle, pistol, or shotgun, that does not have a fixed magazine but has any of the following. So you have a braced AR with a barrel length of over 16 inches. It's fixed magazine, which means you can have these things. That's a lot of features. It goes to J. The rifles only went to F. So there's more things here. There, unfortunately, if we look at the features for an other, we're going to probably, I'm going to just say stick to fixed magazine because pistol grip, thumbhole stock, folding or telescoping stock, grenade launcher, flare launcher, flash suppressor, forward pistol grip, a threaded barrel, that's pretty tough, right? Threaded barrels means you're going to have to pin and weld if you want to go the other route and be featureless. A second hand grip, and then a barrel shroud. Well, what is a barrel shroud? A barrel shroud would be your handguard on an AR-15. Pretty tough to give that one up. I don't know if I'm willing to give that one up personally on a 16-inch barrel gun. I don't think so. The capacity to accept a detachable magazine at some location outside of the pistol grip. Well, gee dang it. How am I going to get an AR-15 magazine in the grip? But at the same time, the gun can't have a pistol grip. So there is no featureless assault weapon, or featureless other, if that makes sense. So a semi-auto, we're going to go fixed magazine. It's basically the moral of that story. A semi-auto centerfire firearm that is fixed mag with 10 rounds or less. Yeah, we can do that. 10 rounds or less, we can do that. Now, a semi-auto centerfire firearm that is now a rifle, pistol, or shotgun that has an overall length of less than 30 inches. Now, what's really interesting is the state of California DOJ has put out guidelines on how to do certain things, and they've put out certain definitions describing some of these. So when it comes to the 30 inches overall length for rifles, that is something that has an actual explanation of what that means. What does the overall length of 30 inches mean for a rifle? Well, it has a clear, concise, it says how to measure it, it says how to determine whether or not certain things are included. But for other firearms, there is no guideline. So the way you kind of have to work that, in my mind, again, not legal advice, the only way to be safe would be to go by whatever is the most strict interpretation of that, meaning 30 inches from the shortest configuration possible, not including unpinned muzzle devices, is kind of like how you have to work that in my head. So again, if you're going to go the other route, it's basically the same as the rifle route, but you never out of stock. You stick with your brace. I'm going to recommend that you stay fixed magazine. Actually, I can't really recommend. This is just for myself. So I'm going to say it's probably smart to go fixed magazine, probably smart to stick with the pistol brace, probably smart to pin and weld any muzzle device if needed to get over that 30 inches for the 16 inches. You wouldn't be doing the NFA stamp. So really, nowadays getting these stamps is pretty simple and it's pretty quick. But whether or not you choose to do that is up to you. The secret ingredient of following the law super, super good and never breaking the law ever, ever, ever is always an option. Don't get caught. Don't get in trouble. Stay out of trouble. Because if you're in jail, you can't do things, and that's not very fun. Anyways, if you have any questions, you guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace! How do I stop this recording? I don't know how to do anything.